Support the channel today by using my TCG Player affiliate link down in the description.
Hey, what's up, guys? We are with Sam, and what do you have for us today?
I have the classic. It's what I'm known for, I guess. I have my Marincess deck. Been playing it since pretty much Duelist from the Deep came out, and I just love the main engine so much and how it interacts. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's just get into the deck profile.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, guys, Sam's gonna have his own YouTube channel, and also he will link down to his YouTube down in the description. Please go check it out. Smam's YuGiOh.
Yep. Also, I have a Discord server as well. If you want to join that.
Highly recommend everybody to go join that server.
Yeah.
How many cards in the main deck?
40, because I'll just get into it now because Blue Tang is the reason it's really nice to be at 40 cards. She's just really good. You always want to have access to her. If she's sent to the graveyard as link material for a water link monster, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you add 1 Marincess card you find there from your deck to your hand. So, or rather, you find from the excavated cards. She's insane because those 2 effects activate in different places, you know, like one's on field and one's in grave, so she's really tough to interact with hand traps properly. And the secondary effect can chain block both of your Link 1 monsters. It's also just like a +1 if you hit. It's excellent.
Yeah. Also, if you want to move your cards back, it will be
I got you. I got you.
Stop the camera.
Is this good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Blue Tang usually sends this next card, Marincess Seahorse, from the deck to the graveyard. Marincess Seahorse is also one of your best starters because both Blue Tang and Seahorse are 1-card link 3s, and that's assuming you don't find an extender off of Blue Tang's effect or have one in hand. And all you need is a link 3 in this deck, and you have your best interaction. Seahorse can special summon herself from your hand to the zone that a Marincess link monster points to. She synergizes beautifully with Blue Slug. And then her secondary effect is you can banish her from the graveyard to special summon a water monster from your hand to a zone that a Marincess link monster points to. It does come up in some instances to have Seahorse's secondary effect up, but generally speaking, you're going to be adding the same Seahorse from your graveyard to your hand on the follow-up turns. So you might not even be able to activate the secondary effect because you just got card advantage instead, but it does come up. Next up is 2 Marincess Mandarin. I'm just going based on when these cards came out. Marincess Mandarin. I know that I have the Chaos Impact versions, but that's when they came out. Marincess Mandarin is she's a weird one to normal summon unless you have an extender, then she's excellent. But she says if you control 2 or more Marincess monsters while she's in your hand or your graveyard, you target a water link monster you control and special summon her to the zone that link monster points to. She'll be banished when she leaves the field. That's why she's kind of weird to open if she's your only one, because she won't be in your graveyard to add back to your hand, so you might not be able to pay certain costs because you return like a link monster or one of your spells instead. But in one of the advanced combos, she can help you establish both link 4s because she banishes herself when she leaves the field. And, you know, any Marincess name can lead into a link 1, so I like having 2 Mandarin because you get to use one on your first turn and your third turn. Just leads to a lot of card advantage. Next up is 3 Marincess Pascalis. She's the tin goldfish of the archetype. When she's normal or special summoned, you can special summon a Marincess monster from your hand, except another copy of Pascalis. That is kind of an unfortunate part, opening double Pascalis, but I mean, they had to balance her because her secondary effect is really strong. During the follow-up turn, you can banish her from your graveyard to add a Marincess spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand. I generally use this to recycle Marincess Wave, the deck's best interaction, but you can also add back the field spell or you can also add back Dive. Pascalis is just excellent. And being a tin goldfish that works on special summon means you can use dive to summon her from the deck and then summon another monster from your hand. It's really strong. And then we have one Bacilla Lima. She's just one of the utility pieces of the deck. She's kind of like a Veil Lynx. If a monsters I control would be destroyed by card effect, I can banish her from the graveyard instead. And if she's banished, she gives a monster 600 permanent attack points. So again, she's a level 4 or lower Marincess monster, so she can be used to make any of the Link 1s. So it's fine to open in the sense that if you have an extender, you're good to go. But usually you're going to be either sending her from the deck to the graveyard off of Blue Tang or special summoning her from the deck. So when you link her off, she's in your graveyard. This protection effect comes up so much. It's so good.
Is she mandatory?
Yeah, because Promethean Princess really messes you up when you're going second. So if you normal summon Blue Tang, you can send Bacilla Lima from your deck to the graveyard, and then any of your special summons are going to be insulated from the Promethean Princess, because Promethean will try to destroy your monster, Bacilla Lima will just protect. So you get to keep your board presence, which is extremely important for a deck like this. And also she's level 4, which means if you summon Pascalis from the deck and then summon Bacilla Lima from your hand, she also can contribute to Bahamut Shark into Totally Awesome, which is one of the deck's best endboard pieces. Next up is Marincess Spring Girl. She's the Aqua Spirit of the archetype. You can banish a Marincess monster from your graveyard to special summon her from your hand. So she's a fantastic extender. If you send her to the graveyard as link material for a water link monster, you get to mill cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of Marincess monsters that you control. And then for each Marincess card that you mill, your opponent takes 200 damage. So she's an in-engine time card, and she's also an extender, also level 4. And yeah, Spring Girl is just excellent. I won a lot of games during Tier Limits format, specifically with Spring Girl for time. Because I would play against Tier Limits, and it's either I make Dweller against them or I burn them with Spring Girl when they're taking too damn long to play. But yeah, Spring Girl is just a really excellent extender. The reason that you want to have inflated Marincess names is because Blue Tang's Excavation effect needs you to have a high density of Marincess cards in your deck in order to guarantee a hit. And I pretty much always want to guarantee a hit, even though if you look at our locals, I think I hit once against the Tenpai player.
Oh yeah.
And I excavated a total of 6 times. Yeah, I missed a lot. It was crazy. But I mean, generally speaking, you will hit with Blue Tang's Excavation effect. You don't need it to, though, because it really is like random chance. It's nothing you can guarantee. But that's just fine. But yeah, having an in-engine time card is really busted. It wins a lot of games, especially at YCS's.
Or against Tier Limits.
Yeah, specifically against Tier Limits, because not a lot of decks make me go into time like Tier Limits did.
So you have a very easy access to just getting to burn on game.
Yeah, because I would just send Spring Girl from deck to grave off Blue Tang, add her back off of Blue Slug, and then just use her as link material and burn them to the ground. And next up, we have one Sleepy Maiden. Marincess Sleepy Maiden is a level 5 Marincess monster solely because if she was a level 4, she would be broken. Her effect in hand says you can target a Marincess card you control, which can include the field spell. You special summon Sleepy Maiden from your hand, and if you do, Sleepy Maiden gains a lingering effect. While this card is in the monster zone, the targeted card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So if your opponent impermanences Sleepy Maiden, and then they try to destroy the card that she's targeting, your card will not be destroyed because Sleepy Maiden has a lingering effect. Lingering effects cannot be negated by impermanence and Veiler. So that's why Sleepy Maiden is so good in the archetype, because on top of being an extender, she's also an endboard piece. And then while she's in the graveyard, you can banish her from the graveyard to equip a Marincess Link monster from your graveyard to a Marincess Link monster that you control. So she is really good at resetting the equip on Aqua Argonaut, because Aqua Argonaut special summons one of her equips to disrupt the opponent. So being able to getting a third equip back onto Aqua Argonaut for the opponent's turn is really good. It can also allow you to make Aqua Argonaut going first if you don't have access to the field spell. Let's say they negated Sea Angel, or you just need to search Dive, but that'd be weird because you have Sleepy Maiden, so you just use her as an extender. But in any case, you can end on Aqua Argonaut without needing the field spell, because you can give Aqua Argonaut an equip through Sleepy Maiden. She will only be at 2300 attack, but you still have disruptions against your opponent at the end of the day, so we'll take what we can get. Also, she plays around Ghost Ogre on your field spell because she protects it from being destroyed by card effects. So if you already have Seahorse in your hand, when you normal summon Blue Tang, this format, because Ghost Ogre is in main decks, I would send Sleepy Maiden a lot of the time from the deck to the graveyard, solely to play around the fact that they're going to Ghost Ogre my field spell. I just want to have protection against that. So yeah, I think Sleepy Maiden is necessary, but that's just me. I've been playing her since she came out in Duels from the Deep, and I've enjoyed my time with Sleepy Maiden. She's really good. Next up, 2 Marincess Battle Ocean. I know 2 sounds crazy, but have you ever lost your one Marincess Battle Ocean and then you don't have another? It feels bad. That's why I run 2. Also, it ensures just that little extra chance that you actually open it, giving your Sea Angel the chance to search Dive, which gives you the emergency teleport, which can fix a lot of hands. It also helps you play into Runic better, because if they banish one of your Battle Oceans from the top of your deck, you have another one to search out with Sea Angel later. And yeah, Battle Ocean's just a great card for your end board, because all of your Marincess monsters gain 200 attack natively, and then each one that has a Marincess card equipped to it gains 600 per equip card. So if you have 3 equips on one Marincess monster, that monster is gaining 2,000 total attack points. And when you link summon a Marincess Link monster to the extra monster zone, you can equip up to 3 Marincess Link monsters with different names from your graveyard to that Link summoned monster. That effect on Battle Ocean is not once per turn, so it really helps you chain block a lot of your floating effects on your Link monsters. It also can help bait out a Ghost Ogre, in the sense that you use this to equip to your Coral Anemone on Link Summon, and if they Ghost Ogre your Battle Ocean, you can then use Anemone to link into a Link 3, and then when Anemone is sent from the field to the graveyard, she can add Battle Ocean back to your hand. So it kind of, it baits out players who aren't fully aware of what's going on, which is surprisingly a decent number of people I've found. But yeah, Marincess Battle Ocean is just a critical piece to your end board. A lot of people play it at 1. I've loved it at 2. It comes up so much against grind decks. And to go along with the 2 Battle Ocean, we have 3 Marincess Dive.
Why do you like 3 Dive?
I want to open this card every game, because I'm going to be searching Battle Ocean off of Sea Angel a lot, so I just want to open Dive to have the emergency teleport effect live. This is so good. Dive's got 2 effects. One is you can target a non-link Marincess monster in your graveyard and special summon it, so it's a monster reborn. But its secondary effect is where it really shines. If Marincess Battle Ocean is in your field zone, you can special summon a Marincess monster from your deck. That effect is so disgusting. You can get Blue Tang from the deck, and then you have your best combo starter without needing to open it. You can get Pascalis from the deck, summon from hand, make Bahamut, Toad, so it helps contribute to your end board. And it's also just an excellent extender. It's searchable off your Link 1. Dive is such a custom card. I love this card at 3 copies, just because I want to open it all the time. And then next up in the Marincess engine is 3 Marincess Wave. The theory with me having 3 Marincess Wave was back when I played Phantom Knights. I played 3 Fogblade in my main because it was an excellent discard. But on top of that, it's also an end board piece. So, you know.
Why is it an excellent discard?
Because Fogblade can banish itself from the graveyard to special summon a Phantom Knights from your graveyard.
I mean, wave.
Oh, Wave? No, Wave is not a good discard. You don't have generic discard outlets. You can only discard water monsters for costs. But I'm just saying, because I played 3 Fogblade in Phantom Knights, I loved it. I opened it a lot. It was a great endboard piece. I applied that same theory to Marincess, and it turns out that it's insane, bro. If you open 1 wave in your hand, you excavate the 2nd wave off of Blue Tang's effect, you search out the 3rd wave with Coral Triangle. Congratulations, you have all 3 waves in your hand. It comes up a lot, and for those who don't know, Marincess Wave has 3 parts to it. The first part says, if you control a Marincess Link monster, you target a face-up monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So it's kind of like an impermanence in that way. If you control a Link 2 or higher Marincess monster, all of your monsters on your field that are face-up are unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. So it's a blanket unaffected to your entire field, not just your Marincess monsters. And then if you control a Link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So you don't need to set this on your board when you pass your turn. You just have it. It's basically Impermanence plus Miscellaneousaurus. And I love it at 3 copies. Because even if they like Droll and Lockbird you on the Excavative Blue Tang, if you opened Wave, you kind of played around Droll in that regard because they're drolling you to stop you from searching Wave. If you already have it, you're so much better off than not having it. And that's why I love 3 copies. You also hit it more often off of Blue Tang's Excavates. Like I sack people with this card, bro. It's so good. Next up is 3 Signet Mining. Now we're into the generic cards. Signet Mining, for those who don't know, sends a card from your hand to the graveyard as cost, and in return you add a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. It's just basic consistency. Droll and Lockbird does kind of hurt this card. Ash Blossom does kind of hurt this card. But in a deck like Marincess, where you don't have a card like Salamangreat Great Circle to search out your monsters, you can't really afford not to play Signet Mining. Yeah, you do have Dive to summon monsters from deck, but that requires setup as well. I love Signet Mining. Card's great. Opening it to play through hand traps by searching Spring Girl is insane. And yeah, it's just basic consistency. If you want to side it out in certain matchups, you can, but, I wouldn't recommend that. And now we're on to the hand traps. I run 2 Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill says if your opponent special summons a monster face up, you can discard it, then target one of those monsters, and you negate its effects until the end of the turn. If that monster leaves the field, they take damage equal to its original attack. So it's another time card, but it's also kind of like a Veiler in that regard. I just wanted to dry out Mourner one of these days. I got a play set from a trade, and so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this card out. I love Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. This card is fantastic. Just really strong, very versatile hand trap. It catches a lot of decks. And it's a time card, so, I'm just going to play it. I do a 2-2 split on hand traps alongside with the side deck, just so it makes siding easier. And you'll see the other 2 hand traps I have here are 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. For those who don't know, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit says during either player's turn, when a monster on the field activates its effect, or when a spell trap card on the field that is already face up on the field, activates its effect, you can send Ghost Ogre from your hand or your field to the graveyard to destroy that card. So she kind of just enchained to an opponent's card effect. You send her from the hand to the graveyard or your field if she's on your field, but you won't get her on your field in this deck. You can destroy your opponent's cards, so it can stop continuous cards, field spells, like the Tenpai field spell. That's why I'm maining this card. Funnily enough, Ghost Ogre is also one of this deck's worst enemies, so be careful. Be sure to play around this card as much as you can. Your main engine can, so just be wary of the fact that Ghost Ogre is in people's main decks in this format. It does suck to just lose to a card that is included in people's decks because of a completely different deck that's Tenpai, but, you know, it is what it is. This card's really good, though. Next up, we have just some generic water extenders here. We have 1 Tenyi Spirit Shathana and 1 Silent Sea Nettle. So Tenyi Spirit Shathana just says, if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. I'm not going to go over the second effect because it will not come up in this deck, ever. But Shathana is just not an extender necessarily. It kind of is, but you have to control no monsters. But it's just a free level 4 water body, which is extremely relevant, and it goes along with Silent Sea Nettle. Silent Sea Nettle is at level 4. He says if you control a water monster, you can special summon him from your hand. And then if Silent Sea Nettle's in your graveyard, you can banish him, then target up to 3 water monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. That secondary effect is super good for going into grind games. You just get a free 3 water monsters back into your extra deck. You just get to keep playing, essentially. It's also a level 4 extender. The reason I run a 1-1 split on each of these is because if I open both of them, I won't draw like duplicates, I suppose. Whereas if I were playing like 2 Silent Sea Nettle and I opened both, I can only use 1. But if you open both of these, you play around Nibiru and you don't normal summon at all, so it's like giga broken. Yeah, I love these guys. Generic level 4 water extenders, they're the best at their jobs.
Would you ever consider more copies of each?
No, I don't want to brick. Ever. Like, bricking is so annoying. Other than, like, drawing multiples of cards. But the thing is, like, I want them to be, like... I'd rather draw double Blue Tang than double Sea Nettle. Because you can summon the other Blue Tang from your hand, or that's just follow-up for next turn. I don't want to brick on my extenders. I want to brick on, like, cards that I'm going to be playing at 3, because, I mean, this just happens. I can't control what I draw outside of deck building, and in deck building, I don't want to draw more than one of these anyways.
Yeah.
And then the next water extender we have is Ice Jade Ron Azurine. This card came out in Cyberstorm Access, and I've loved it ever since it came out. It's a level 7 tuner monster. It says you can discard 1 other Ice Jade card or 1 other water monster as cost. And if you do, you special summon Ice Jade Ron Azurine from your hand, and then you can special summon a level 3 Ice Jade token. While that token is in the monster zone, you are locked into water monsters, but you're locked into water monsters the entire time you're playing, so that restriction does not matter. She converts into the level 10 Ice Jade Synchro, which is your out to runic stun, single-handedly. But also, since it's 2 water monsters on your field, she can convert into Marincess Coral Anemone. And I did this a lot at locals last night. I would just activate Ice Jade Ron Azurine, discard Blue Tang, special summon the token, and then link into Coral Anemone to revive Blue Tang. So it's playing without normal summoning and also getting a Link 2 body on your board for free. She also helps you play past Nibiru, because the optimal time to Nibiru a Marincess player is on resolution of Coral Anemone's effect. So when Coral Anemone is tributed, she'll give you a Marincess card back to your hand. Assuming you added a water monster back, you can use Ice Jade Ron Azurine to establish another Marincess Coral Anemone. And if you have the field spell, you'll be able to equip 3 link monsters to her, so she'll be at 4,000 attack. And if you have any waves in your hand, you can just set them. Or if you have an extender, you can keep playing. Ice Jade Ron Azurine is just super excellent in this deck. I've loved it ever since it came out. And then we have 3 Forbidden Droplet, and then 1 Called by the Grave. Forbidden Droplet is so excellent in here because you have equips for free sometimes from Battle Ocean. Like, let's say when you equip 3 to a Marincess Link monster on the 3rd turn, you can Droplet sending the equip cards. It's just basically free negates at that point. Droplet synergizes also with the fact that this deck kind of wants cards to be in the graveyard, so it doesn't mind sending a couple. It also doesn't target. Wave is your main interaction, and that card targets. So there are monsters that can't be targeted, like Albion the Sanctifier Dragon and stuff like that. Forbidden Droplet does a really good job of answering cards that just can't be targeted by card effects. There's a card in the extra deck that helps too, but Droplet's also necessary because you can use it in the damage step, so pretty decent. And then Called by the Grave is probably the single sackiest card I've ever played with. Like, ever since it got limited, it's just been such a sacky card. I got so many people with this at the YCS. Called by the Grave is so excellent. I hate having my dive that special summons from deck getting hit by Ash Blossom, so yes, I am going to play the one Called by the Grave. And I'm going to continue playing this card as long as it's legal. That's just personal choice, but Called by the Grave is really good in a deck like this where you need your plays to resolve. And that was the 40 card main deck. Now we're moving on to the extra deck. Start off with the Link ones. 2 Marincess Blue Slug and 2 Marincess Sea Angel. So Blue Slug says on Link Summon, you can target a Marincess monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, and then she locks you into water monsters for the rest of the turn. This effect synergizes with Seahorse, as her Link arrow points down. So if you normal summon Seahorse, you can link Seahorse into Blue Slug. Blue Slug adds back Seahorse to your hand, and then you can special summon Seahorse from your hand to the zone that she points to. So it's a 1-card Link 2, but you can use that Seahorse to go into Sea Angel, which says on Link Summon you can add a Marincess spell from your deck to your hand. Note, it's not just the field spell you can search, you can also search Dive. So Sea Angel is just absolutely insane, because she can search a monster reborn, or she can search your field spell, or she can search an emergency teleport, all of which are excellent effects to have on a Link 1. So yeah, also they're arrows in the sense that, like, if you summon Sea Angel below Blue Slug's Link, that's 2 or more Marincess monsters you control with a Link zone that points to one of your main monster zones, so that can set up Marincess Mandarin as well. That was that's kind of how they designed these cards back in the day in Chaos Impact, but the Link ones are your absolute bread and butter to making your play starters that much more potent, and they're also free. There are also additional Marincess Link monsters in your graveyard, so you can just equip them along with your Link 2 Marincess Coral Anemone, and then you have 3 equips. And speaking of Marincess Coral Anemone, you play 2 of her, as well as Diet Coral Anemone and Splash Mage, although Splash Mage kind of goes hand in hand because I tend to use these cards during the same turn. Marincess Coral Anemone takes 2 water monsters. You can target any water monster in your graveyard with 1500 or less attack and special summon it to the zone that Anemone points to. Her downward pointing arrow means when you link summon her in the extra monster zone, she has an effect to go off. And if you special summon her from the spell and trap zone, she's in one of your main monster zones, so she can summon as well. So she's just a very versatile Link 2 in that regard, kind of like a sprite elf. And then if Anemone is sent from the field to the graveyard, even as an equip spell, kind of like Dante, she gets to add any Marincess card from your graveyard to your hand. This is super critical in getting you back follow-up, recycling Marincess Wave if you send her for droplet cost, getting back your play starters, and on top of that, like, she's custom linked to, super broken. And Splash Mage is, she takes 2 Cyberse monsters, and you can target a Cyberse monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated, and then she locks you into Cyberse monsters. This lock does matter in some plays, but you can very, very easily play around this lock also. Yeah, Splash Mage being a water Cyberse Link 2 that reborns is just like so clutch for this deck. It's basically getting access to Anemone again without needing to wait a turn because you can only use her once per turn. She also comes up in setting up both Link 4s. Yeah, Splash Mage is just excellent for that regard. And then the Link 3s, we have 1 Marincess Coral Triangle and 1 Marincess Marbled Rock. Marincess Coral Triangle is the entire reason that you are playing this deck, because she takes 2 or more Marincess monsters specifically to link summon. So you have to use your extra deck monsters, basically your other link monsters, to link into her. You can send any water monster from your hand to the graveyard as cost, and if you do, you get to add 1 Marincess trap from your deck to your hand. So you get to search out Marincess Wave, and since Coral Triangle is a Link 3 or higher monster, you can activate this wave from your hand. So it's kind of like how Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche sets Fogblade from your deck. You have a Link 3 that searches your main interruption and makes it live. Coral Triangle's secondary effect, though, is arguably just as custom, because you can banish her from the graveyard to special summon water link monsters from your graveyard, whose total link rating equals exactly 3. You can only do that if your opponent is the only one that controls monsters, so they have to control monsters and you have to control none. But if that's the case, you get such an insane comeback mechanic. Just being able to revive a Link 2 and a Link 1, or sometimes Marbled Rock from the graveyard, is absurd. I win so many games because I have Coral Triangle in my graveyard. It's just nuts. And if you have if you summon Anemone and a Link 1 off of Coral Triangle's effect, that's a Freeze Elantis that goes +2 without normal summoning. So like, it's insanely easy to break boards in this deck. So yeah, Coral Triangle, very, very custom Link 2. Marbled Rock, or Link 3, sorry. Marbled Rock, she takes 2 or more water monsters, so she's easier to summon. She targets any Marincess card in your graveyard and adds it to your hand. That effect is once per turn. But she's just really good at recycling resources, helping you pay for costs later on down the line by adding cards from your graveyard back to your hand. She can add back Wave to your hand on the follow-up turn, which is really busted. Yeah, just all around, it's a +1 every turn. And also, she's got 2,500 attack. So if you equip 3 Link monsters to her with Battle Ocean, she'll have 4,500 attack, which is pretty massive. Her secondary effect, though, is like super good right now, specifically against Tenpai, if they don't make the level 10 Trident Dragion, the Tenpai one or whatever. Whenever an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send a Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard. For that battle, neither monster can be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage. This effect actually comes up so much, because if you summon her off of Aqua Argonaut's effect, your Aqua Argonaut can essentially fade battle phases just by sending Marincess monsters from your hand to the graveyard. And then if it goes back to your turn, you can use her effect to add back one of those cards. So it's kind of like you got free immunity from battle on an unaffected monster. It's just really good at keeping your board alive. She's also critical for making both Link 4s on turn 1. So yeah, Marbled Rock is excellent, as well as Coral Triangle is just really good. And then the Link 4s, we have Marincess Aqua Argonaut, Marincess Great Bubble Reef, and World Sea Dragons Elantis. We'll start with Aqua Argonaut. She's got 2,300 attack, so if she's got 3 equips, she'll be at 4,300 attack, which is mainly the case. While she's in the extra monster zone, your opponent can't attack other monsters except for her. So she's kind of like a magnet for the battle phase. You can't go after other things. So if Sleepy Maiden is protecting your field spell can't be destroyed by card effects as long as Sleepy Maiden's on board. And Aqua Argonaut's making the Sleepy Maiden unable to be attacked, and Wave makes both of them unaffected by card effects. So it's like really hard to deal with the board sometimes. Aqua Argonaut's first effect is during your turn, you can target a water monster you control and any card your opponent controls and return them to the hand. It's really good at outing monsters that are super annoying to deal with, like Mirror Jade and the Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. It also can hit any card, so it can deal with back row as well. It's really good against Runic Stun. You just out the fountain. And then because you returned a water monster you control to your hand, that can help pay for costs in some instances, or you can just resummon the monster that you bounced. Just really good all around. And the third effect she has rather is during your opponent's turn. When a spell or trap card or effect is activated on the field. So if they activate, let's say, a spell or trap from their hand, or they activate the effect of a spell or trap on the field, you can chain Aqua Argonaut's effect to special summon one of the Marincess monsters equipped to her. And if you do, you negate the activated effect. So she's excellent at negating spells that say you can only activate one of it per turn, like Branded Fusion, Rite of Aramesir, and stuff like that, because she negates the activated effect, similar to Therion King Regulus. So, yeah, on top of special summoning a free Link 2 or Link 3, you also get to disrupt your opponent. Aqua Argonaut's just excellent. Great Bubble Reef is the other Link 4 that I have access to. She's got 2,600 attack, so with the field spell and 3 equips, she'll be at 4,600 attack, which is even more massive. That's crazy. She's kind of like, I would describe her as like a Heat Soul Dissipator kind of a way. During each standby phase, you can banish a water monster from your graveyard or your face-up field to draw 1 card. So she gives you a card during your opponent's turn, and then you draw, and then assuming she lived, you get another draw. So you're +2 over your opponent, basically, if she survives. It's really busted. Each time a monster is banished face-up, she gains 600 attack for each until the end of the turn. Against certain decks like Dragon Link and Runic, Great Bubble Reef can get over 8,000 attack. It's crazy. I believe when I was playing against an opponent on Dragon Link, I had Great Bubble Reef at 78, which is just nuts. You can't clear that with any conventional means, especially if it's unaffected by card effects. Yeah, Great Bubble Reef's effect to gain attack is just really nice at being able to make a big fortress in the sense that your opponent can't clear it by normal attack values. Her secondary effect, or third effect though, is what makes her truly great. You can send a water monster from your hand to the graveyard as cost to special summon one of your banished Marincess monsters. So if she survives, you can banish a Marincess monster from your graveyard to draw a card. And then if you have a water monster in your hand if you have a water monster in your hand, you can send it to the graveyard to special summon the monster that you banished for her cost. So it's a free draw that resummons a monster from your graveyard. It's really excellent. Is also super critical in setting up both Link 4s, because she's the reason that Mandarin banishing herself leaving the field is good, because you use Mandarin as Link material to make Great Bubble Reef, and then Great Bubble Reef revives the banished Mandarin to make Aqua Argonaut. Yeah, she's super critical for making both Link 4s, and she's just an excellent source of card draw. World Sea Dragons Elantis, I mean, everyone should know what World Sea Dragons Elantis does, in the sense that a lot of people are playing it, but it functions very differently in this deck compared to other decks, because Snake Eyes and stuff, they use it to like OTK. But in my deck, I kind of use it like a water access code talker. I use it to break boards. So for those who don't know, World Sea Dragons Elantis has 2 effects on him. During the main phase, you can banish all monsters on the field, and then I, the person who used World Sea Dragons Elantis' effect, resummons as many monsters that were banished as possible to their owner's fields, either in face-up attack position, face-up defense position, or face-down defense position. So with that effect saying that I am the one that special summons the monsters, since I am locked into water monsters the entire time I'm playing, any non-water monster banished by Zelantis' effect does not get summoned to its owner's field. And that's what I mean when I say I treat it as water access code talker, because it's just going to clear your entire field. And Zelantis' secondary effect is also really good at clearing entire fields. It says during the battle phase, either battle phase as a quick effect, you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of co-linked monsters on the field. Generally speaking, when you go for your third turn OTK, your link board is going to look like this, and that is 3 co-linked monsters. So Zelantis will get you 3 pops. Notably, this effect does not target, which is just so insane. Zelantis is kind of custom built for this deck because of all the ways that you can take advantage of it. Yeah, Zelantis is just great. A lot of people are using this to like OTK people and like Snake Eyes and stuff like that though. So please do not ban my Zelantis, whatever you do. I will be very sad. And then we move past the Link monsters finally. Here's the Ice Jade Synchro, Ice Jade Ymir Azurin. 3000 attack, level 10. She's got a very, very weird effect. Not in the sense that it's weird in a negative way. It's just convoluted and pretty confusing to those who don't know, so I'll explain it now. As a quick effect, you can use Ice Jade Ymir Azurin's effect such that your monsters cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn. Then, if you chained Ice Jade Ymir Azurin's effect to an opponent's card effect, and they have a card with that name on their field or in their graveyard, you can choose to banish those cards if you'd like. So, for an example, if your opponent activates the effect of Sangen Summoning on the field, the Tenpai field spell, and you chain Ice Jade Ymir Azurin, that will make it so your monsters cannot be destroyed or banished by their card effects this turn. Then, since you activated this effect in response to Sangen Summoning, and they have Sangen Summoning on their field, this will banish their copy of Sangen Summoning on their field as well as all from their graveyard. So it kind of functions as a hilarious Ghost Ogre. It's also a non-target banish. It's just excellent on a 3000 body. But her second effect is what makes her truly shine, because if a card or cards is banished by your opponent's card effect by any means, while she's in the graveyard, you can special summon her. And that effect is why she's the single-handed out to Runic Stun, because you use her first effect in chain to Runic Fountain to banish them. And then if they ever destroy her with whatever the Runic spell is that pops a monster, and she's in the graveyard, the next Runic spell they activate that banishes a card from the top of my deck just brings her back to the board. And so they just constantly have to deal with this threat. Also, her being a Synchro monster means she can attack through Synchro Zone. And a lot of Runic Stun players kind of hide behind cards like Messenger of Peace and Synchro Zone, but they kind of have to choose like one or the other depending on playstyle. Yeah, you just get to eat through Synchro Zone, as well as just have an excellent non-target banish on the board that comes back from the graveyard, which is super relevant. And then the last two cards, the criminals themselves, Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome. The entire reason I get to play around Nibiru, Bahamut into Toad. Bahamut Shark takes 2 level 4 water monsters in which Marincess is loaded with, and you can detach a material from him to special summon a rank 3 or lower Water Xyz monster from your extra deck. So you summon Totally Awesome. And Totally Awesome says when your opponent activates a monster effect or a spell trap card, you can send an Aqua monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard as cost to negate the activation of your opponent's card, destroy it, and then you can choose to set it to your field, which is basically just kind of like illegal. It's like super cheating and giga broken. I love it though. So like you negate their card, destroy it, and then you can basically take control of it. You just go like plus a billion. And then on top of that, when Toad is sent to the graveyard by any means, not just by the cost for his negate, any means at all like Dogmatica Maximus, you can activate his effect in the graveyard to target any water monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So generally when you make Totally Awesome in this deck, you will use him as cost for himself to negate an opponent's card. And then after that chain resolves, Toad will start a new chain to add a Marincess monster from your graveyard to your hand. Generally speaking, it will be Blue Tang. But that follow-up from Totally Awesome will win you the game. Like, this card is so disgusting in Marincess. Bahamut Toad, it's the nasty. It definitely like wins me a lot of games that I have no business winning because I was able to play around Nibiru and stuff like that. Did you want to go over side deck?
If you want to quickly, if not, I mean, we probably would have to keep it really quick.
Sure.
If you want to do it quick.
Yeah, like I said, I got the 2-2 split on hand traps. So I got 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Bell. Effect Veiler is just pretty generic. Ash Blossom, you do need to have Ash Blossom in your sideboard for decks like Branded. Ghost Bell as well. It covers decks like Lab as well as Ash does. Lab is a really bad matchup for this deck, so Ash and Bell are just really good to have. A 3 Gamma Seal. It's the only kaiju you get access to. It's the only water one, but it is the best one because it got the lowest attack. Synergizes with totally awesome because it's an Aqua, so you can send it to negate an opponent's card. Like, let's say you draw it off of Great Bubble Reef or something like that. That's pretty cool. Also, if you give it to your opponent and then you use Aqua Argonaut to return it to your hand, you can then give it to your opponent again by tributing another monster. Also, if at that point, if you use Elantis, you will regain control of Gamma Seal because it special summons monsters to their owner's fields. So you just have a free extra big... It's got 2200 attack. I mean, that's not too small, you know? And you can just use it as link material if need be. Cosmic Cyclone, like I said, Lab is a completely awful matchup, but you're going to be drawing a lot of cards throughout like your grind game, so I don't want to draw cards like Lightning Storm. I guess I could play Harpy's Feather Duster, but I just prefer the Banishment on Cosmic Cyclone specifically. And then for the final goo, 3 copies of White Howling. For those who don't know, White Howling says if you control a water monster, you banish a spell from your opponent's graveyard, and if you do, all of the spell's effects on your opponent's field are negated for the rest of the turn. It's basically Imperial Order, except it's kind of better because it's one-sided, and it also banishes a spell from the grave, so it's really good against Wanted Poster, but it's also just really good against decks like Rescue Ace and Purely that just rely on spell cards in order to access their main engine. Same thing with Voiceless Voice. This card just collapses people. Yeah. White Howling is just super broken. It is a going first card, so you have to be careful about where you side it, when you side it, but generally speaking, it will win you the game if you open it. So, yeah. And that's it.
So everyone, please go check out Sam's channel if you'd like to see more Marincess and water-related content.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on the channel.
Of course, thanks
Once
for having
more,
me.
showing off your profile. Once again, everyone, go make sure you're subscribed to Sam. He's going to be producing a lot of great content over there. I'm glad we could have him on the channel, feature him
Thanks,
so much, and I'm glad you're starting your own channel. So,
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
yeah, everyone go support him. And that being said, please leave a like and subscribe.
Yeah, shout out Metagames GX for having me on the channel.